But in a situation where you find that
not necessarily tribal or regional.
I have said that.
All right, thank you so much for sticking with us. If you are just joining us, this is Daybreak on Trust Television. We have in the studio Zainab Sulieman-Okino. She's the Chairman, Editorial Board, Blueprint newspaper. Thanks for coming to the show this morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Okay, let's start with the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Right at the top on page 4, you'd find after Daily Trust story, Kano blind teacher gets job and a house. Wow, that's quite interesting.
Very interesting.
And then on page 48, you'd see amidst legal issues, PDP to proceed with convention. And on page 5, where you'd see boldly written, the big headline, despite SIM and NIN linkage, kidnappers, bandits still demand ransom via phones. And the writer is saying why it isn't working. That's according to experts. Another writer is saying policy effective, says Pantami. And on page 52, you'd find Buhari leads Nigeria's delegation to Saudi Arabia Investment Summit. And on page 6, you'd find 780 million fraud. EFCC grills ex-Senate President Anyim. And right on page 54, you'd find gunmen attack Ogun Church, abduct 3 worshippers. And then you see a pictorial there where pupils of police children's school cotton curfew and parade during the Ohikwe Igbira Convention in Kogi State over the weekend. And you'd find on page 24, 33 states may not pay salaries as 172 billion naira deduction grounds revenue disbursement. So these are some of the stories you'd find on the Daily Trust newspaper.
All right. Taking a look at the Guardian newspaper this morning, also we have some of the stories going this way. The lead story says, banks in defining moment as e-Naira kicks off today. You also see the writer there saying, in unease over how digital currency will affect financial intermediation. That's according to the Guardian there. Now, Nigeria joins Bahamas, Sweden, Cambodia, South Korea as pioneers of CBDC. It's elitist, but will enhance efficiency of payment system. We are ready for rollout, CBN insists. You would also find the lead story there showing you the president and the governor of Central Bank of Nigeria. Beside that, Rivers not at war with federal government over VAT, Wike clarifies. Police foil attack on Wana division, kill suspect. You would see also EFCC quizzes former Senate President Anyim over alleged diversion of funds. ICC seeks probe of pupils abduction in Nigeria. Below that, declare bandits terrorists, 36 speakers tell Buhari. These are some of the lead stories on The Guardian this morning. We'll be having much more discussions on the issue of the e-Naira to be launched today. I mean, that's our focus on the program today on the show.
Okay, let's move on to the next newspaper this morning, talking about the Punch newspaper. The big headline there on page 35, you'd see SIM NIN linkage. Subscribers push for 2-month extension. Deadline expires on Sunday. And a writer is saying subscriber group says registration centers extremely crowded. And another rider is saying fresh extension likely after NIMC, NCC review. That's according to telecoms firms. And you'd also find on page 2, ASU cautions federal government on 30 billion revitalization fund October 31st deadline nears. And a rider is saying Union NEC meets early next month to decide next line of action. You'd also find on the Punch newspaper, Otedola shareholders, analysts project spike in FBN share price. And you'd find on page 2, INEC needs 17,618 workers to conduct APC PDP primaries. You'd also find World Bank blacklists 18 Nigerian firms, individuals for corruption. That's according to a report. And you'd also find aviation agencies plan 436.6 billion revenue, budget 55.86 billion for security. So these are some of the stories on the Punch newspaper.
All right, on the Nation newspaper today, the first story there says CBN, SEC, NGX begin scrutiny of Otedola FBN Holdings shares acquisition. You'd see also speakers seek more action against bandits. 392 Oyo inmates still at large, 13 arrested in Osun. Recall how over the weekend we had that story of the jailbreak in Oyo State. Right. Quite sad. I would say that this has happened for the umpteenth time.
Right.
And it doesn't look like we are learning from those experiences. The lead story there says tension heightens in PDP over uncertain convention. Governors consult over Secondus court case. Makinde, October 30th date sacrosanct. 780 million naira cash. EFCC grills ex-SGF. Then, of course, you would see also CBN raises healthcare fund to 200 billion naira. These are some of the lead stories on the Nation newspaper.
Okay, let's take a look at some of the stories on the Daily Sun this morning. You'd find on page 8 of the Daily Sun, editors to federal government, insecurity hampering development. You'd also find rescuing Nigeria from abandoned road projects. That's an editorial done by the Daily Sun. And the lead story there says federal government talks tough over Oyo State jailbreak. And a writer is saying vows to recapture fleeing inmates, dead or alive. You'd also see another writer saying Makinde orders installation of CCTV at all custodial facilities in the state. You'd also find Aregbeshola Alafin visit Obolongo Custodial Center. And on page 27 of the Daily Sun, Nnamdi Kanu, we are taking steps to secure consular access, UK. And on page 37, VAT, Rivers not fighting federal government, wants constitution respected, says Wike. These are some of the stories you'd find on the Daily Sun.
All right, quite a number of stories on the Nigerian Tribune this morning. And some of the stories, the first one at the very top, ICC prosecutor seeks investigation into abduction of Nigerian school children. You would find Nnamdi Kanu Malami has crossed the line, the red line, Ohaneze declares. You would find that on page 8 of the Tribune newspaper. Osun APC, appeal committee upholds Famodun-led EXCO. You would see, says decision taken in absence of any petition or appeal. Below the nameplate, you would see PDP raises alarm over plot to scuttle convention. The rider, power struggle rages in zonal state chapters. Obi, Metu, other Anambra stakeholders clash over NWC post. That's on page 24. You'd find also one suspected IPOP member killed as gunmen attack Ebonyi police station. Kidnappers abduct 3 during vigil in Abeokuta. Abductions of 2 Ondo girls contact mother. That's on page 28. TED fund, not for bursary payment, ASU tells FG. You would find below the pictorial on the Nigerian Tribune, prison attackers, more masks, black dresses were about 50, says hunters. Those are the eyewitnesses to the jailbreak, I believe. Makinde Arogbeshola, a laughing visit center. Consistent attacks on prisons, coordinated, that's according to the federal government. Wakili Shorigbo, not in Oyo prison. DCG. Makinde directs CCTV installations. Oshun, please rearrest 13 fleeing inmates. It's quite sad, really, that we now acknowledge that it's coordinated. These attacks are coordinated. So, aren't we coordinated enough to counter this attack before they happen? Because, I mean, this is not the first. This is not the second. It is becoming more like, you know, a daily experience now.
Right.
Let's get the thought of our reviewer. Like we told you, we have Zainab Sulieman-Okino, chairman, editorial board of the Blueprint newspaper in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning once again.
It's good to have you in the studio.
Yeah, the pleasure is mine.
Yes. Now let's begin with the very last story we took about the issue of the jailbreak that we've seen over and over the weekend. That was the report that we saw. That was quite shocking, isn't it?
Well, I won't say it's shocking because you have mentioned that this is not the first, this is not the second time. It's been on and on and on for a long time, especially the attack that we had during the NSAS protests. So I thought our security agencies should have taken a cue from that loose ends that opened almost how many prisons to attacks. So, but then you cannot build something on nothing. Over the years, most of these prisons have been open to attack because of the lax security situations in some of those prisons. So, and everything again, they will tell you it boils down to money to reconstruct. So we need to start from the beginning, I should say, so that we can fortify these prisons such that it will not be open to attack. But I think in most cases, there are always insider information about these prisons that are open to attack or that have been attacked. So that's where we also need intelligence to be able to counter the plans of the evildoers.
But of concern to me is the fact that sometimes these attacks happen even almost unresisted because we didn't see anything saying that, there was, the pushback from security agencies. So one wonders, is it the problem of lack of, enough security officials guarding the prisons, or lack of equipment, or the lack of will to do so?
Maybe everything put together. But it starts from intelligence gathering. If you don't have enough intelligence, every other thing will fail. Then secondly, most of these attackers, they are equipped with sophisticated weapons. In most cases, bigger, better than what our security men are holding at the gates. So, and the security men at the gates, they know from the voice of, from the noise of whenever attackers come in, they know. When they hear the sound, they know. So, and they know that what they are holding cannot match theirs. And then there's corruption along the line. Some people must have been given some money to keep quiet. So it's we need to go the whole hog to be able to nip this problem in the bud, because, and in most cases, people are killed. Innocent people are killed. And then you allow prisoners, some of them hardened prisoners, some of them condemned prisoners. Because as you know very well, the governors have not been signing death sentences. Almost all the governors. None of them is ready to commit to sign for some of these condemned criminals to be killed. So you now allow them come back to the society. And that's why our security situation is worsening. There's no improvement because when these hardened criminals come back to the system, they cause more havoc than they did the first time that took them to prison. So we have a long way to go.
Okay.
It's sad.
Now, many would agree that most of our prisons are quite old, many built in the 80s and all of that.
80s,
well,
60s.
So 60s, 80s.
Even 50s.
50s.
Yes.
Well, some would say maybe the government is not prioritizing, getting to rebuild some of these prisons or put some architectures in place that would at least safeguard penetration. What are your thoughts about that?
I agree with you. Most of them are old. But you see, no matter how old a structure is, it can be modernized.
Right.
How much of that are our security men doing, or those in charge of those prisons, the CJs? How much of that are they doing? But again, how much fund is released to them? You never can tell. So until we know all these details, we cannot blame the whole problem on one person. So yes, the prisons are quite old, but that's not an issue if we know what we are doing. All we need to do is to fortify them, modernize them, equip them. Equipment is what matters. It's not how big a structure is. But if they have the equipment, if they have the arms, the right ones, RPGs, all those ones, that can beat what the attackers are holding. But the question you should even ask yourself is, how did these attackers come through the town, the local area, and nobody noticed? And that's why I mentioned intelligence that first time. And they cannot tell me they do not know. Sometimes they know, but they are not equipped enough. Sometimes they get the intelligence, but they are not equipped enough to counter what the attackers are coming with.
Right.
Now, we also have another story, about the recapturing of some of those people, that 392 inmates are still at large and the 13, are arrested in Osun State. Is that even, enough? And also we are also hearing that there has been an instruction, or I would say an approval for the installation of CCTV cameras.
After the deed is done.
Are we not, crying foul after all the milk has been spilled already on the floor,
You're right. The deed has been done. This over 300, if two attackers or two gunmen enter this place, God forbid, if one enters here, all of us here will be in trouble. And you're talking about over 300 people who probably will get some arms here and there and begin to cause more havoc. It's very unfortunate, but we're not getting it right. If this is when we'll talk of installing CCTVs. So if those CCTVs had been there, perhaps the attack would not have been this serious. So I think what we are doing is medicine after death. And then we are used to this. I think there's no, look, we've got to a stage where if you are sure you'll be exposed. If you don't plan, you'll be exposed. In the past, you could do this and get away with it. Not anymore. So once something happens like this, all your weaknesses will show. So talking about CCTV at this stage is,
And let's recall also that this happened just, I think, about a day after the rail line from Kaduna to Abuja was, attacked also by, believed to be attacked by bandits, and all of that. It also brings the question of whether or not our security officials are standing up to the occasion, or whether government itself is standing up to the recent spike in cases of insecurity across the country, whether it's really indeed on top of the situation like it will always say.
I won't say government is not doing anything. But how much? Is it enough? I think that's the question. Of course, government is doing something. Otherwise, none of us can sleep with our two eyes closed. The whole thing is bad. It's bad. It's bad, very bad. The situation is scary. They are doing something, but is it enough? Of course, it's not enough. It is enough. The train that was attacked was really, I didn't believe it. When I saw it, I thought it was fake news. Because many of us have been on that train, and I've had cause to interact with one of the security men, and he gave me a lowdown of what they do. And from what he told me, I thought it was not going to be possible for the train to be attacked anytime. But it did happen. It happened, and then all of us were taken aback, and everybody is still in shock how it happened. I think the driver of that train deserves an award. I don't know how he was able to maneuver to the extent that no life was lost. Whoever that driver was, he deserves an award. I think he's properly trained.
Well, I think on the other hand, people were surprised because the NRC issued a statement saying it was not bandits, that it was vandals. And so many would say, was that just to, calm people down?
No, I tell you, considering what I've heard about the train and those security men, what they told me, no vandals can try the train. It's magnetic. You can't try it. You have to be sophisticated in your own plan too before you can attack a train. But it looks like the bomb had detonated before the train got there or something like that. However they did it, some expertise must have come into it. Some proficiency must have come into it. And precision must have come into it. That's not the work of vandals. Vandals will just pick small things here and there. No vandal can go do what that crater that was created after I don't know whether you saw it, and of course the gunshots. Can't be that's the work of, I won't say it's a pro, but close to it.
All right then, let's.
I mean, we should all be worried because
it's worrisome.
It's worrisome because, I mean, for anybody in Kaduna here, in Abuja here, Kaduna is like maybe second home for many of us. For me, I have children there. I lived there before. Most people that work in Abuja live in Kaduna. So it's really
all right. Now,
unfortunate.
Another story, the Punch is leading with the issue of the SIM-NIN linkage, talking about subscribers push for 2 months extension. Deadline expires on Sunday. Subscriber group says registration centers extremely crowded. Fresh extension likely after NIMC NCC review. That's according to telecom firms. It looks like from 2 months to 6 months now we are, about a year and more, and then it looks like we are not close to the end because going by, what this subscriber group is saying, that the centers are crowded. It doesn't look like we've deployed sufficient equipment to do this linkage of the SIM and the NIN thing.
You've already said it. And like I said earlier, we do not plan well. When when it was first announced within 3 months, and everybody was scampering and were trying to register, then it was extended, and this should be, and then it's ending in this October, yes. And now we're asking for extension. Of course, there are the equipment are surely not enough. Either NIMC went back to sleep, or they don't have enough equipment, or people are also not serious. In most cases, our people are not committed to anything. So perhaps many also didn't bother. They thought it was one of those policy statements that government will forget, as they are always doing. So perhaps they are also waiting for the deadline before they quickly remember that, I have not done my SIM-NIN linkage. So there are so many factors. But I still believe that if the government is serious, they should just close it once and for all.
Right. The Daily Trust newspaper is also leading with this story. But the angle to that story is what's really captivating. It says, despite seeming linkage, kidnappers, bandits still demand ransom for their phones. What are your thoughts about that? Is it that the policy is not working or there's something wrong?
It's just a pity that all these are happening. And everything we'll be discussing is about security. We're not safe, unfortunately. When the policy came into effect, especially in some parts of, not just the SIM linkage, when the ban on phone calls in some parts of Zamfara and Kaduna State.
Shutdown of the network.
Yes, shutdown of some network. I think there was a lull in kidnapping. It seemed that it did work initially. Then suddenly, we've gone back to where we're coming from. I think something is wrong somewhere. And I don't want to believe in this conspiracy theory that the sponsors of banditry and kidnapping are big men, influential people. There's that story now making the rounds.
Yes.
That those behind it are not, the people you see are just like cannon fodders.
Yes. But isn't it so? Because we've had confessions from even some of the arrested, kidnappers and all of that. And some of them attest to that. And if they tell you what they get out of the ransom that is being paid, in most cases you find that they end up with peanuts, and then there's just some, big man somewhere that takes the money.
My thought initially was that, yes, the kidnappers are in grades. Of course, there are senior ones, or those who are really strong and are behind them. That was my thought. And so they send their small young people, young and agile young men to the street to do the kidnapping. But I never thought in my wildest imagination that some influential people within the society are actually behind it until the Wadume case happened. And then we saw some of the people behind Wadume himself, senior military people, personnel. And I do not mean to castigate the military. They are doing the best they can. But we saw what happened. That man, has he been tried? The problem is that there are so many laws in the country. We don't have any problem with laws. So the problem we have is enforcement of those laws. So if you catch one and you do not try that person and let the world see who the person is, let's name and shame whoever the person is, why do you think others will not follow suit? That's the problem we're having. So if it is true and there are investigations, investigations have been carried out, and we now know that there are influential people behind this kidnapping, this killing of innocent people, and the kidnap of our school children, I think the government should get serious. Try this book. Why is it that we do not try people? I mean, we take some of these corruption cases to court, bad as it is.
But I think his case is in court, isn't it? The Wadume case is still in court.
Yeah, Wadume.
Yeah, I think
I
that's
mean the man behind Wadume.
Okay.
It's his own case in court. I've not had anything. Maybe I'm not reading wide enough. There's a military man behind it. I can't remember his name now. There's somebody behind Wadume himself. And it doesn't look like he's being tried. But even if he's being tried, why should he be secret? We don't have to do secret trial. We want to know who are these. We want to see their faces. We want to know people who do not want us to sleep and live in peace.
Talking about secret trial, the issue of Nnamdi Kanu is also in court, and we've seen how sometimes journalists are barred, from having access to the place and all of that, and some are raising questions about why are we not having this trial, in public glare, so that everyone knows what's really happening, to avoid some of the suspicion and some of the allegations that, have been leveled against the prosecutors, of Nnamdi Kanu and all of that. How important is it for us to have this, public prosecution?
I don't think what we are doing is bad. It happens everywhere. There could be secret trials. Don't forget that the IPOB leader is it's being tried for secession. It's a very serious case. It's not a normal criminal case that you can try in the open court. I'm not defending the government. I'm not defending the military people. I'm not defending everybody that is involved in his trial. But I think there should be some level of secrecy. Maybe to get to a stage where when they will make it open. But I think the main concern for people is that, okay, if the IPOB leader can be tried and Boho too can be tried, even though their cases are serious enough, no government wants to see a part of its territory being threatened. But why can't we also try all the people involved in, whether it's terrorism, banditry, kidnapping, whatever you call it, why can't we also try them openly? Why can't we try them in the first instance, whether it's in the open or it's secret, in secrecy? So it's not just about what's his name, the IPOB guys, Nnamdi Kanu alone. We need to do such. We need to do more of such trials about criminals, all the criminals that are threatening the corporate existence of Nigeria.
Well, some will say our justice system is quite slow or is ineffective.
Is it not being operated by human beings? Can't we have special courts? You can have special courts for cases like this. It doesn't take much. I see them take some useless things to the National Assembly, and before you know it, they will pass it. The other day I saw one about paternity for men. It's not a priority for us.
It's not.
Why not? I mean,
No, it's not a priority.
I'm not entitled to have it.
No, let's not discuss whether you are a feminist or not.
Right.
I can discuss that. That's a different thing. I say for us as Nigerians, it's not important, because even if you give our men paternity, they will not work. They will not help their women when the women give birth. So it's a useless law. To me, it's not. But we can, even if our justice system is slow, we can quicken it. We can have special courts. What does it take to take it to National Assembly, and the bill will be passed, and the president will assent to it, and it becomes a law, and we set up the committee, and they begin to try people.
But why is it so hard? I mean, we've had these conversations over.
Why are you asking me?
So many years. So many years before now. I mean, we've been having for a couple of years.
I don't know why governance is rocket science in Nigeria. We see these things being done. Everything, bureaucracy has finished us. But they are not even thinking about it. That's even the most annoying thing. But I think there's this committee that is in charge of the congesting prisons, which to me is a good one. We need such committees. It doesn't have to be a standing committee that will take all the money again. It can be an ad hoc thing. And every state needs it. And part of the problem we have is over-centralization of everything. Everything must be done in Abuja. And anyway, that takes us to another discussion, so it's not for today. So, it's as if the federal government sometimes is overwhelmed. It's overwhelmed. Because I don't understand. I mean, we go back to the justice system that you talked about earlier on. I don't understand why it is so difficult to set up a special court, or special courts, not just one, many. We need them. If the justice system is slow, they will help to quicken it, to fast track things.
So do you see this as maybe a major factor contributing to why people are resorting to, self-help and jungle justice, and all of that, agitations here and there, because people do not feel that their issues are
unfortunately, how many people can resort to self-help? Only a very few. A very few. And how many of such self-helps have you seen? How many people can stop their kidnap? How many people could have stopped the train from being derailed if not that God intervened on their behalf? So when we talk about this self-help, it's only a few men in Abuja and the big cities who have guns in their homes who cannot be threatened. And those people too actually cannot be threatened.
No, but it's looking like we are heading to where people will begin to, like take these things seriously. We've had calls from several quarters, even from government officials, for for people to defend themselves, for people to, look for means on how to bring themselves together and, help themselves and all of that. So is that leading us to...
I am not against self-help. As a matter of fact, there was a story I saw yesterday. There's one community in Edo State, Fuga. I don't know if I've heard it. Fuga, I think that's where they do bone setting or something like that. There's one popular hospital there. They set up a committee to defend the community. A vigilante group to defend the community. That's a small community. I don't know whether it's a local government. It's in Edo State. It's called Central or something like that. That's self-help, communal self-help, and I commend their effort. But in truth, if we allow every community to set up vigilantes, we are heading for anarchy. There's anarchy in the horizon. That's why we talk about state police, community policing, and devolution of power. There's too much power at the center. It doesn't help us. So with a community like that, of course they are working in concert with the police. But if we have a state police and county police, or what we call local government police, that small community will not need to set up its own vigilante group. This local government police would have taken care of that.
All right, then. Thank you. Well, we would have to end the discussion here. The review of our dailies on Daybreak. We've been speaking with Zainab Sulieman-Okino, Chairman, Editorial Board of the Blueprint newspaper, discussing some of the stories that made the headlines this morning. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
You're welcome.
We hope to have you next time.
Yeah, the pleasure is mine.
Yeah.
When the situation where you find that
not necessarily tribal or regional.